All right, bienvenidos a todos. Como dijo, soy David Mayorga y soy un inmigrante de padres colombianos y tengo el honor y privilegio de formar parte del equipo del presidente Biden, aquí como director de comunicaciones en el departamento. Like Fred said, the DOE has over 100,000 staff, federal and contractors, 17 national laboratories, and we're working every day to solve some of the biggest challenges both here in the US and across the globe. The Secretary likes to call us the America's Solutions Department, and we absolutely believe that, and that is core to our mission. And of course, among all the great things that we've played a role in, from nuclear ignition, fusion ignition, last December, to knocking down barriers and reducing the costs of solar and wind and batteries and all the amazing clean energy technologies. Today, we are laser focused on the administration's clean energy goals. Those are getting to 100% clean electricity by 2035 and achieving a net zero economy-wide by 2050. You might ask yourself why it's important to go clean. For one thing, the climate demands it. Last year, extreme weather disasters cost the US $165 billion in damages, and to say nothing of the human suffering and displacement. The more carbon that pollutes our environment, the more that those disasters pile up. Of course, who's paying for that? We are. For another matter, it's a matter of energy security. It's a matter of energy security. As many of you know, with Putin's invasion of Ukraine and the weaponization of energy has left us overly reliant on other nations, and it's incredibly important for our domestic energy security that we have clean energy, that we have energy produced here, American-made energy. And it's also important to making energy costs more affordable for everyday people, for Latinos, for Hispanics all over the country, folks in every corner of the country. And of course, just as important, it's an incredible economic opportunity. The global market for clean energy technologies is going to reach $23 trillion by the end of this decade. And so it's critically important that we lead in that market, that we grab a slice or a very large chunk of that pie, and that will also create millions of good paying jobs across the country. And many of those jobs will go to Latinos from coast to coast. But today I want to talk about some of the technologies that DOE has already on hand, available to help us unlock these clean energy benefits for Americans, and that will help us get to these clean energy goals quickly. And all of those benefits, or many of those benefits, come from the recently passed Inflation Reduction Act, historic clean energy legislation that the president helped usher through Congress, that has flushed the department with funding for all kinds of benefits for American consumers, from tax credits to rebates. And why don't we go ahead and talk a little bit about one of those, which is solar energy. It is now the cheapest form of electricity on the planet, and DOE played a major role over decades of investment and research in bringing down the cost of solar energy. And thanks to President Biden's clean energy laws, you can take 30% off the cost of home solar panels installation right now. That will also open the door to an average net savings of $9,000. And thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act, that credit is available for 10 years. And in that time, we hope to also see some big leaps in clean energy technology. The DOE's R&D efforts across our labs has helped unlock the ability to put solar cells, next slide, in a range of things, from materials that can bend and flex to glass, and that's opened new possibilities for solar technology as well. Not only solar panels on your roof, but also you'll be seeing solar shingles and solar embedded siding and even solar windows. And imagine that future where virtually every surface of a building's exterior, like your home, could have solar cells on it, drawing energy from the sun, using it to power all the lights and appliances and gadgets inside. Well, what happens when the sun isn't shining or the sun goes down? We're able to draw energy from the wind. And that's distributed wind. We're talking about, most of you are familiar with big offshore wind turbines, large onshore wind turbines, but we're talking about distributed wind. These are smaller turbines that you could set up for, say, a farm or at a school. And we're funding projects aimed at putting those turbines into use all across the country. So you'll likely see more of those very soon. And thanks to President Biden's energy laws, you can take 30% off the cost of installing those in distributed wind systems on your home right away. And with that, still the question arises, when the sun isn't shining and the wind isn't blowing, where do we draw for storage? And that leads us to talk about storage and batteries. Some really big news actually on EVs that I'll get to in a second just today. But the president's energy laws offer 30% off the cost of installing battery storage in your house. And that is available today. And since we're talking about batteries, you can see that car in that photo and electric vehicles. I will flag the EVs, global investment and global spending in electric vehicles over the past year has gone up 53% globally. That is incredibly remarkable. The clean energy revolution has arrived, and we will all be driving an EV in no time. Thanks to the president's laws, it makes it easier than ever to make the switch. Right now, you can go to the dealership and get $4,000 off of a used EV up to $25,000. You can get 30% off home charging equipment and up to $7,500 off a new EV that qualifies under the tax credit rules. Right now, it will grow over time, the list of vehicles available for these tax credits, but there are well over 2,000 EV models under $30,000. That is incredible, and that list will continue to grow. And most of those new models are eligible for a $7,500 credit right off the list price as you drive it off the lot. And now you factor in the real cost of maintenance, the lower cost of maintenance, and EVs are starting to look like a really great deal. And let's say you have an EV sedan. Right now, you save roughly $35 every time you charge it at home compared to fueling your gas-powered equivalent. That can add up to over $800 a year in savings. Well, what if you want to charge on the road or while you're making a cross-country trip? Well, the Biden energy laws also invest $7.5 billion for a nationwide EV charging network, so you never have to worry about where you're going to get your next charge. And today we have some big news coming out of the Department of Transportation, on standards for EV chargers, as well as funding to help different parts of the country come up with their EV charging plans. And Tesla, the administration announced that Tesla will actually make their private Tesla-only chargers available, on a much larger scale to be compatible with the CCS system, which is more commonly used. So that is very, very exciting news coming out of the department today. And of course, our expectation is that if folks feel confident that they can get anywhere in an EV at any time, and if the EVs are cost competitive and in fact lead to those savings, demand is going to continue to skyrocket. But in order to get to this EV future, we need to make sure that we have those materials on hand here in the US. Lithium, nickel, cobalt, graphite, all these critical minerals. The trouble is, China basically dominates those supply chains for these materials. But we're changing that. If you see this map on the TV, since the president took office, we've seen more than $80 billion flow into new projects across the country to create and expand this battery supply chain and supply chain operations in the US. We have over 90 new and expanded manufacturing and processing plants for all kinds of things going into the guts of the vehicle, like the secretary says, into those batteries. And what does that mean? That means thousands of new jobs. That's folks in factories, salespeople, engineers, all kinds of jobs for Latinos across this country. And now there's also several rebates for appliances in the Inflation Reduction Act, in this historic clean energy legislation, if I can remind you, the largest investment of any country in the climate in history. Really, really incredible. First up, we're going to talk about heat pumps. It's a really unfortunate name. To me, they're just super efficient air conditioning systems, but they do more than just heat. They can also cool your home. And these heat pumps are more efficient than heating with oil or gas. Guess what that means? Savings. It will lower your monthly electricity bill. And with the president's energy laws, you can buy one with a 30% discount right now. And if you upgrade to both the heat pump and a heat pump water heater, you can unlock an average of $650 in savings each year. They're becoming more popular in warmer weather climates for some time, and demand is skyrocketing for those in cold climates. I just recently saw a story how cold climate heat pumps are doing very well in Maine. And of course, manufacturers are working to make them more efficient to operate in really, really cold temperatures, minus 20 degrees, and we hope they'll be ready for market next year. But if you live around here, you don't need to wait. You can go ahead and make that switch. Some other important appliances that have rebates in the Inflation Reduction Act are induction stoves. These are high-tech electric stoves, and they are faster than gas-powered stoves. They're safer. They don't emit harmful fumes like some of our traditional gas stoves. And they're safer because they cool down once you remove the pot from the surface. And guess what? The IRA has billions of dollars for rebate programs to make this switch for all kinds of households, including lower and moderate income households. Some will be eligible for up to $14,000 for a slew of upgrades to electrify energy efficient appliances. For an induction stove, a low to moderate income family could receive up to $840. Some of the top line induction stoves go about for $1,200. So you could get a top of the line induction stove range for about $200 and some odd dollars, which is, or even less, which is really exciting for folks across the country. So if you're ready to find an energy efficient appliance, go to energystar.gov. You'll find a lot of information there. We hope to see these rebates come online. Obviously, we're still working on the rules around the rebates that were recently enacted, but we hope to see those in this coming heating season. In total, if you follow these footsteps and take advantage of all the tax credits and the Biden energy laws, you could get close to $20,000 off of your purchases and installations, and you could benefit with savings of over $3,000 a year. Thank you all for your time. Go clean, save green.